Hello, everyone. Welcome to our workshop, X Marks the Spots. Hello to folks who are joining in person, and hello to folks joining online and folks watching in the future. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And as a reminder, as a token of gratitude, we will give you 10% off to shop today through Sunday from this workshop. So stick around for that. I'm Jen. My pronouns are she, ella. I am a pleasure enthusiast, and I truly believe that pleasure is a birthright. And everyone deserves access to pleasure, no matter how that looks like for you. So today, we're going to talk about different pleasure points in the body, ones that you may know of, ones you may not know of, and how to access them. And the point of this conversation today, it's not to walk away with any form of pressure or anxiety about, oh, I don't feel these spots or I don't know where they are. It's really just to provide some ideas and exploration, because ultimately that's what sex should be about, right? Sex is play. And so this is just an invitation. Hi, everyone who just joined. Thank you so much for joining in. And so today we're going to talk about pleasure points, not just in the genital region, but also beyond, because pleasure exists beyond the genital area. So the first thing I will say is that the skin is the largest organ in the body and has so many nerve endings. And when we think about parts that can excite arousal or pleasure, that can be the scalp, the lips, the ears or the earlobes, the neck, the back and lower back, the chest or nipples. We also have the inside of the elbows. Has anyone ever heard of that one? Inside of the elbows? Yeah, even one that was surprising to me was the armpits. You know, for some folks that can be a pleasurable space. The back of the knees, the feet, everywhere along the spine and the back, and the inner thighs, and of course the butts, even on outside or inside. And there's so many more, right? This is just simply what some of the spots where folks may experience pleasure, either by kissing, caressing, or touching these areas with different textures, with feathers, or playing with temperatures, such as using ice cubes. So once again, I bring up these points because pleasure is expansive. And for folks who do not desire or can access pleasure via their genitals, whether that's through disabilities, health conditions, trauma, or maybe you just don't want to and that's not your jam, these are so many great ways to explore. Now, for folks who are interested in exploring near the genital regions, we will talk about some of those spots. And it is important to mention that what we're going to talk about today, these spots aren't magic buttons that you just go and press. And you're just like, yeah, let me just press on this and it's going to excite arousal, right? These are areas that can lead to pleasure, can lead to stimulation. But the most important thing is that there's relaxation, that the body is relaxed. And if you are with a partner or partners, that there's open communication about what you desire, what you like, what you don't like, what your limits are. And that ultimately that will lead to exploration. So just going straight to a pleasure point might not actually lead to pleasure, especially if there's a lot of pressure around it, you know, or that can lead to frustration and take the fun out of the play. So one that we get asked a lot about is the G-spot. And I want to acknowledge that as I talk about these different points, I'm going to use language that we have so far. But acknowledge that language is changing and expansive. The research on sex, sexuality, and bodies continues to expand, right? And I want to acknowledge that some of the ways in which we call bodies, it may not be affirming to you. So I just want to make that acknowledgement as we talk about these different zones. So the G-spot. The G-spot is one of those things where it was up for debate, where people were wondering, does it exist? Does it not exist? The G-spot indeed exists, and it was named after Dr. Grafenberg, who was a German gynecologist in the 50s. Now, this is why I say that we're using the names that exist, because maybe you don't want a part of your body being called after a white man. So the G-spot is actually not a separate anatomical structure, but it is part of the entire urethral clitoral complex. And the clitoris is more than just what may be visible on the outside. So what may be visible on the vulva will be the clitoral glands and the clitoral hood. But the clitoris wraps inside the body, almost like the shape of a wishbone around the vaginal canal. And the G-spot, it is a walnut-like textured patch that can be found in the vaginal canal, so inserting through the vaginal canal towards the belly button. So some ways to find that with fingers is inserting towards the belly button. Another way to find that spot can be with curved toys. So this is one of the wands from Enjoy, or something like this that has a bit of a curve to it. Toys like this as well that create what we call the come hither motion, which is just forward and back. So anything that has a little bit of a curve, like this one as well, this is a smaller bullet from Jeju, that can help to stimulate that area. Any questions so far? Any questions so far, folks joining? All right. Now, back to the clitoris, right? I know a lot of people say the clitoris and are referring to just the external parts, but the clitoris is also internal. And a lot of the sensations that folks can feel from internal stimulation, it is said that is also caused by the clitoris because the nerves do run along the inside of the body as well. And the clitoral gland can be stimulated externally. Some folks don't like direct stimulation. Some folks prefer stimulation around the gland or to the sides. Or some folks, they prefer maybe more like not exact pinpointed pressure. And again, the clitoral gland is not a button. We don't tap, 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 just press and something magical is gonna happen, right? We need to explore with different textures, different sensations, and every body is different in terms of the kinds of touch that they would like to receive. Now, some other spots that we're gonna talk about today. Let me just, my notes got a little scattered. Is the U-spot. Has anybody ever heard of the U-spot? Anyone? Okay. So the U-spot is located just above the vaginal opening near the urethra. And for some folks, they're just like, yeah, I know that spot and I don't like it. But for some folks, it might be pleasurable. So providing gentle pressure or stimulation with fingers or a small toy to this area can provide sensation. So you can experiment with light tapping or rubbing motions. And some may find that stimulation of the U-spot, which is again the area above the vaginal opening near the urethra, and the G-spot internally towards the belly button area, that stimulating those two spots at the same time may feel pleasurable. Has anyone heard of the A-spot? No? Anyone online? Well, the A-spot is the anterior fornix, and the A-spot is located on the anterior wall of the vagina, higher than the G-spot or the G region. And that can be achieved with deeper penetration and pressure to the front wall towards the belly button. So it is also said that stimulation of this area can also stimulate the cervix and cervical orgasms as well, as it sits closer to the cervix. And both with the A-spot, which sits higher on the front wall of the vagina than the G-spot, those, if you desire penetration, those can be achieved, those spots, through rear entry penetration or positions where a toy or a person is inserting from behind the body, because then that will direct towards the front of the vaginal wall and provide more stimulation to that area. Any questions so far? Thoughts, comments? All right, and other ways to stimulate the A-spot as well can be either in a missionary position, lying down with hips elevated, on all fours, on the back with the legs on both sides of the person's shoulders, or the giver, or if you're partnering with somebody else, or also by just laying down with a pillow underneath the hips. Those positions can provide a way to better access these spots. Now, another area that often people ask about is the P-spot. The P-spot is the prostate. And for folks assigned a male at birth with penises, the P-spot is accessed through the rectum. So it is important that anytime there is, with any kind of internal play in the body, lubrication is great. But especially whenever you are playing in the anal region or the rectum, lubrication is especially important to avoid tears, and it is not a self-lubricating area. So you want to ensure that the body is relaxed, you have plenty of lubrication, and to access the P-spot, you can either insert a finger, if you're just starting out and exploring this area, your own finger, maybe somebody else's finger, or a small toy, and angling it towards the belly button, and applying gentle pressure and exploring different motions, so circular, thrusting, or tapping. So one of the toys that we have for this area in particular is something like this. So this one is good for a P-spot. We also have ones that are smaller as well. And this is about the size. This is my finger, so it's about the size of a finger. Some other areas that can also be quite pleasurable would be stimulating the testicles, the scrotum and the frenulum, which is the bridge. It looks like a little bridge between the foreskin and the head of the penis. And another part of the body that can be pleasurable for anybody is the perineum. Hi, welcome. The perineum is the area between the anus and either the vagina or the penis. It sits between the genitals. This spot can be quite pleasurable for anybody because, and especially for folks with a prostate, you can stimulate the prostate externally through the perineum or internally. And one way, we have toys that are shaped like this. These are C-rings that are designed to be worn around the shaft of a penis. And this nub right here, it can be worn. The receiver can wear it facing back towards the rectum so that it stimulates the perineum area. And that is a way to stimulate the P-spot or the prostate from the outside if someone is not ready for internal play or is not quite comfortable with that. And again, even for folks with vulvas, that can also provide a pleasurable sensation as well, and touching along those areas along with other spots as well. It's like, I'm kind of like thinking like boop, boop, beep, pop, like, you know, combining multiple points at once and seeing the combination that works for you. And I know that I just did the whole beep, 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 bop, like I'm pressing buttons, but I'm gonna go back to what I said at the beginning, that these spots aren't just magic buttons that you go around pressing and that automatically it's going to be pleasurable for you. Pleasure is unique and individual, and it is important to figure out what works for you and what works for your partner or partners if you are exploring with other people. And a great way to do this is through body mapping, and literally drawing a body or your shape and taking some time to just explore different sensation, different forms of touch to see what may feel good to you. And again, the most important thing is to be relaxed, remain curious and open. If often folks, they may want to explore something new and may end up feeling frustrated when they either can't find the spot or don't experience pleasure in that way, and that is totally okay. The most important thing is, again, to remain relaxed and remain curious, and ultimately pleasure is what you want it to be. So I know folks just came in, wondering if anybody has any questions. Or anything to contribute to the conversation. We have folks with an array of lived experiences here. Anybody online? All right, well, we'll wrap up our workshop for today. Thank you for joining us for our mini. But before you go, I want to share about our upcoming events and give you that discount code so you can get 10% off your purchase. So we have 2 events coming up this month. The next one is Fetish Figure Drawing. It is a live model drawing with a kinky twist. That is on Sunday, July 20th at 4 p.m. at the Moxie Hotel. And we also have Intro to Shibari Rope Bondage. Also on Sunday, July 20th at 12 p.m. at the Moxie Hotel in Brooklyn. Tickets for those are available on our website, weloveshag.com. And our next workshop will be in August, Backdoor TLC with Lola. So I know we talked very briefly about anal play today. Lola's gonna talk about the care and keeping of that area. And before you go, the discount code for today is SPOT25. So for folks who are in person or those of you who are joining online, you can use that code to get 10% off your next purchase now through Sunday. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Remember, pleasure is your birthright and play is expensive. Bye, y'all.
Thank you.